Hey, what's going on, everyone? It is David Palmer, the Leo King, and welcome to Deep Astrology, your weekly astrology forecast for the week of June 10th through the 16th of 2020. Thanks so much for being here. If you've never watched this show, make sure that you are part of highvibe.tv. That's where you can watch this show exclusively with not only the beginning part where I channel the horoscope to you, but then we go deep into the charts. That you have to be part of High Vibe to physically watch. If you're watching this on YouTube, of course, you get the audio version. But make sure that you join High Vibe. Not only get my daily video horoscopes and my weekly sun sign horoscopes and all my other weekly horoscopes, and I have another couple new shows on there, and we have full disclosure with Craig and I. There's so much content, so many awesome, amazing people, and we're doing daily video content every day. You definitely want to check it out. We have free trials and super cheap, and of course, we're on all the app platforms. So check it out at highvibe.tv to find more info and join. And of course, like I said, this show is where I channel the astrology and then I go deep into the charts, brought to you by Astro Gold. Of course, you can get that on iOS, Android, and on any Mac device. And if you're on PC, check out Solar Fire. Wow, talk about some solar energy. The sun finishing here in Gemini. We're still in Gemini this whole week. And, you know, there's been a lot, right? Gemini definitely has shifted a lot of the energy from, you know, it's very twins-like, you know? Like this year we thought we were just in this one dimension, and now it's kind of switched us to the other side of the dimension. Is it all going to switch back, or are we going to get a little bit of both? There's a lot of questions, right, in life right now, especially with the Venus retrograde still happening in Gemini until the 25th of June. So just remember that you're still rethinking and looking at the values in your life. This is also bringing in lots of karmic situations about exits and entrances and relationships and projects and jobs and money and so forth because of the fact that the North Node is in Gemini. But the big news is this week we are going to see Mars in Pisces conjunct Neptune. Now, this is a very intense transit because the sun is squaring Neptune while Mars and Neptune are here. And so this gets even more intense with the moon that comes into Pisces on Thursday and by Friday meets up with Mars and Neptune as Mars is going through the fog while Mars is going into Poseidon's world, right? This is a very weird world. It rules the oceans. It rules, actually in the old mythology, earthquakes. It rules sea monsters. But Poseidon is the protector of the seas in many ways too. But there is this subconscious deep element, the dreamer element, the weird element of our spirit, and us having to confront with the sun in Gemini and even with Mars. So both we have Mars and the sun. Two fire sign ruled energies, two ego ruled energies, two identification ruled energies. Both making some big clashes here with Neptune and the subconscious and the spiritual. And, you know, there's those subtle hints from spirit that come through Neptune. It looks like an antenna. It is our channeling to the divine. It is our channeling to the universe. But it's almost like, have we been listening? Have we been listening to, are we being deceived in ourselves through our own mind? Are we sheep? It's a question. Especially as you look at how Neptune rules this energy at the 20th degree. This is at the last decan. We have not seen this since 1856. And like I've said, and if you watch my 2020 What's Next video, which is a 3.5 hour presentation, I go into what the rest of 2020 here is going to look like, because last time 1856 came around was called the invisible divide, right? There's this separatism element that happens extreme. And it's the buildup to the Civil War, the last time that we had Neptune at this position. And they actually call the year that was the year that triggered the Civil War and the events that followed up until 1861 was 1856, Neptune, Pisces, 20 degrees, right where we're at. And we're about to see Neptune come retrograde right after the solar eclipse that's going to happen on the solstice on June 21st. Literally, you're going to see Neptune stationary and direct go stationary retrograde right after the eclipse. So Neptune is stopped. Neptune is in this weird realm right now, and we have a lot of planets that are already retrograde, and we're getting ready for more. We got Mercury coming retrograde next week, because Mercury's still in Cancer. So this is us like preparing ourselves for a tidal wave. Now, this could be the tidal wave that takes us to where we want to go in our life, heaven, and we've been listening to our subconscious. We are not allowing ourselves to be self-deceived. these things make sense in our reality because they make sense logically. We look at the data, we look at the facts, we look at what pieces make sense to the puzzle instead of getting lost into just our hopes and our beliefs, and more importantly, our perspective based upon subconscious belief systems that have been embedded in us for a long time. Since Neptune is beginning to square the nodes, and it's bringing up the energies of 2016 because Neptune and the South Node were together then. And there's so many pieces, and that's why tonight I'm going to go through the charts and show you through the astrology and these crazy configurations. I mean, we are seeing the most weird, crazy configurations ever. Not only with this Venus retrograde, but we got Jupiter, Pluto, and we've got Saturn right in front of both of those in Aquarius retrograding, and it's ready to head back into Capricorn by the end of this month. We're in between eclipses, remember, and we have 3 eclipses in this cycle. So we just had that lunar on Friday last week, and guess what? Now we got a solar coming up next week. Now we got a solstice coming up. And we got a Mercury retrograde next week, and a Neptune retrograde that's all coming. So you got to start to realize that this week you're going to have to really look at finally anything that you have suppressed, or what doors and what windows here from Spirit has told you that you have to filter through logic. You have to filter through not getting locked into belief systems, not basing it off what the world is saying, what everybody else is doing, what everybody else's perspective is, but your own individual local mind and environment that makes sense for your individual life. Because this is not a time to go try and prove something through beliefs, not trying to prove anything through your own way of however you want to call that conditioning, because there's always the guru element of Sagittarius, right? That teaches the way that it wants to be taught. So this is not where we need to start bridging our subconscious beliefs of how we think life should be and how this should and this could and this would should be, because now it is the biggest clash ever. The identity planets are Sun and Mars. They are also the 2 planets that are ruled by what? Aries and Leo, where the sun is at its dignity and its exaltation, the most powerful places for the sun. So when you get that with Neptune, which is one of the farthest planets, and it technically is the farthest planet if you don't count Pluto, even though Pluto is a planet. But we understand that Pluto does not go on the ecliptic of our plane from the sun in our solar system. It likes to dive down into the underworld. So that's why it's such a weird planet. And it also flies above our ecliptic on the plane of the solar system, right? Because it actually is the eagle, the phoenix that rises too. But we've experienced it going into the underworld and taking Saturn down with it. And this Saturn here in Aquarius just keeps on making weird angles. And so when it comes to trying to piece together our life or think where our future is going, this becomes to where we have to trust our gut. You know, it was tonight that I was on my way. I had to go get a tool to go fix something. And I was on my way there, and it was like Spirit just told me, go check on your stepdad. So I go check on my stepdad. I go over there, and I see my buddy Alex, and that my stepdad's known forever. We've worked together for years, way back, like over a decade ago. Haven't seen him in years. Caught up with him, and then my stepdad's like, I just got a new router because the Wi-Fi router went out. Weird enough, last week, or it was this week here at the studios, I've had the best, 2 years ago, I bought the best 8 antenna Wi-Fi router, right? Because this place is huge. It went out. Same thing, something weird going on there. But more importantly, my stepdad's like, I've been working on this thing for like 6 hours and it just won't connect to the internet. And I need to go see Nathan, my nephew now, and now his grandson, right? Like, my brother just had a baby. So I literally didn't know why I was being called there, but I did go there. And I was able to fix it in like 5 minutes just because I'm a tech nerd, you know what I mean? And then it was able to get him to go. And it was so beautiful because then I went and got my tools. And when I got back, I FaceTimed them. And there I am with my whole family right before I'm doing this show and get to be with Nathan. And there's my stepdad holding Nathan for 2 hours while he slept. And Nathan slept in my stepdad's arms, Roger. So there's that whole element of like, what makes sense in life? It makes sense when you get called to something that makes sense in your environment and all the things. And sometimes it makes no sense at all, right? It's just kind of like, I don't know, I just know I'm being called over to this, but there's hints from the universe. I'll never forget today, just like as I was pulling down the street, I'm like, boom, my stepdad comes into my aura. My stepdad comes into my mind. My new nephew comes into my mind that I just held last night. And just, okay, I'm going. It's not based upon some belief system like, well, I'm driving by there, so I should go over there to be a good person right now. I want you to sink that in for a second. I had no plans on going there. And it wasn't based off any should. It wasn't based on any I have to in myself, like I have to go there. I didn't have to go there. I didn't even know what he was doing. But it was because Spirit gave me a hint, and logically, I was right there, and I was just like, okay, well, I don't know why I'm going there, but I'm right here anyway. Let's see what's there. I'm curious to see what Spirit has to say. I'm curious to hear what Spirit has to say. I'm repeating that because there's a difference between this is what has caused more war, famine, and destruction on the planet is religious shoulds. Belief shoulds. We see it in our political world. We see it in how we condition in our humanity. We see it in sports. We see it in every element of our lives. Shoulds, woulds, have tos. Gotta be that way. And this is where there is so much subconscious junk inside of yourself in your local environment. Get rid of this whole understanding of the world. It's the South Node in Sag. I don't know how many times I have to say it. The world right now is not a place that is going to be understood. No matter how much you get into it, the South Node will always leave you dry, empty, as a barren desert, as it's called in Vedic astrology. Ketu is a barren desert that you're going to keep just going into trying to prove your beliefs, prove your shoulds and your woulds, and I have tos, and I got tos, and guess what? You end up with nothing. An experience maybe, but did it actually change your local environment? When you operate from that space, it's subconscious right now. When you operate from a space this week with this storm, the moon, Mars, Neptune together, you've already got Poseidon, who creates not only just the crazy storms of the sea, but creates a spiritual storm, especially in Pisces, of subconscious junk and subconscious energy that just starts to create and fly itself all over the place. And with the sun in Gemini, it creates this mutable energy, and especially with the moon coming into Pisces and Mars in mutability, and Mars, remember, is in its balsamic phase to its dignified home of Aries, where it's about to go do a retrograde this year. So Mars already is like, oh gosh, I got to go home, and I'm not going to get to be home. They're going to be doing construction that hasn't been done since 1988 at my house. Imagine Aries right now, when it comes to Mars, its home is like a 1988 house that hasn't done any upgrades yet. So it doesn't already want to go there because it knows it's going home and it has to go through construction, because Mars is the one planet that takes 2 years before it'll go retrograde. Every other planet, Venus 18 months, and then you got to go all the way. I mean, it might sound crazy, but then you go all the way to Pluto, which is 6 months, right? There's a huge gap. So you have to remember that, like, Venus and Mars are super powerful in our consciousness. And we saw that Mars square Venus when Mars entered into, when was that? Oh yeah, when Venus had retrograded, and we saw some Mars-Venus activity when Mars was at the middle, when all this stuff happened in the last couple of weeks. And so you have to remember that we're going to see Mars square Venus again. Not in these signs, but we will see it in Aries and Cancer. And so the identification of things right now about your mental state, are you in a logical state or are you in a higher mind state, which is like pretty much like a customized, place of however you've been subliminally conditioned in your life to be. And are you operating from that space or are you operating from a place of, let me look at all sides of the equation, let me see what Spirit's trying to subtly bring in hints for me to go to, and let me go with curiosity. Let me go not with, I have to because of some conditioning that usually comes from Jupiter, some other guru, or some other person that has taught you, or experiences of others that you're not even experiencing. You have to go through your own thing when it goes through your own life and your own curiosities to find out whether or not you want to go through experiences. This is a time of research through intellect, data, and searching, internet, whatever you want to call it. You've got to look at, am I going to do this? It's like, when I went and adopted my cats in my life, or when I've adopted dogs or whatever, it's like you do your quick investigations on life. You basically go, hey, does the puppy and I, do I feel good with it? Does the cat and I, do we get along? Right? There's little basic things, the curiosity of oh, I had never held a one-day-old baby till yesterday, and I was scared shitless, but I was curious enough to go over there, and I didn't start stepping into well, I have to go. I just went with, you know what, I'm curious, let me see. I don't know. Because actually the best part about life right now is the more you say, I don't know, and let me find out, instead of I know, and I should, and I'm going to be. You know what I mean? It's almost like, that's when you know you have slipped and you are in the storm of craziness. And I've brought up mental health, and they keep bringing it up on the news more and more. It's building up, it's building up, it's building up. You know why? Because when you're dealing with Pisces and you're dealing with Gemini, you are dealing with mental illness that gets popped out of nowhere. And let's be real, I'm sure all the astrology people that love astrology out there have always looked at the serial killer list, and guess who all the serial killers are? The mutable signs. How come it's not the other signs? Now, if you're a mutable sign out there, you're a Gemini, you're a Pisces, you're a Virgo, or you're a Sag, hey, I'm not trying to say that you're going to be a serial killer. I'm just saying that the data shows, because see how I could just have triggered those 4 signs by them starting to believe he's projecting on me that he thinks I'm a serial killer. No, the data shows that all the serial killers happen to be that for some reason. Doesn't mean that you'll be one. It doesn't mean that you have anything like that. That's your own projection of your own belief on thinking that I'm putting a belief. I'm just giving you a factual data, and you have to make up your own curiosity of figuring out why, and maybe looking inside of yourself. Is there a part of you that would be that way or not? And maybe if you have a lot of planets in those areas, you would have to ask yourself, let me look at those planets. But the whole thing about it is, when this much pressure happens in mutable energy, it becomes massive shifting of the brain, massive shifting of trying to deal with issues, especially with Venus retrograde that's been squared to Neptune for a month. All of May, Venus stopped and squared Neptune. Now here's the sun on that spot, and the sun is going to cross while Mars comes on top of Neptune, where Venus retrograded on Thursday. And then the moon will be in Pisces. So I'm just trying to let people know that this is a week where anything that you've been suppressing in all your values or relationship issues, this shit's gonna fucking come out and either be heaven for the curiosity of, I don't know, but I'm curious to follow what Spirit's been telling me to do, or I'm going to suppress because I have to do this, I should do this, and I've got to do this on action. Not going to listen to what my gut says, not going to listen to what my guides say. I'm too worried about what everybody thinks because why? Because Saturn's in Aquarius in retrograde, making really, really weird angles to this. And look at how the world today, I could just talk about something and Google picks it right up. We're at a time to where your suppression is based upon if you're suppressing things because of your own beliefs of worry about what the world thinks, what others might think, how it will disrupt other people. Because part of the whole lesson of Aquarius is not so much about this harmony with people. It's much more of the element of understanding the uniqueness of who you are and not being afraid to rebel, to be that true place in order to be the innovator. Because innovation is what gets people to move into new directions. But right now, innovation based off belief systems will not. It's innovation off curiosity, off facts, off information, off changes in our own unique environments. And that's what's hard about this. So this week, you're approaching a tidal wave, and it's Thursday into Friday, and then we have the moon come into Aries this weekend and square Jupiter-Pluto. And that Jupiter-Pluto is getting closer. We're going to show this right now in the charts. We're going to show Saturn at the edge here. We're going to show that we are at edgy times and that if you think that everything's calmed down, right? This is like putting a fire blanket on a massive fire and knowing that it's temporary, that it can't hold it all down. And you are going into your subconscious triggers of, if you're following the hints from God, Spirit, and the universe of what actually makes sense to you based upon your own connection to the universe and God and what God and the angels and the universe is telling you, or are you subliminally, purposely pushing that down and putting fire blankets on it and going, I'm not going to deal with it. I don't want to. I don't want to affect other people. It's not the right thing to do or anything like that. Because you're afraid of being an Aquarius. Saturn in Aquarius is the test of whether or not. I have to say this before I go onto the charts is, do you all know that, do you know your mythology? Do you know that Uranus, who was the ruler of the universe, had a son named Kronos? Guess who Kronos is? It's Saturn. And the problem with that is Kronos got jealous. Saturn got jealous of his father for the power that he had. And he gets persuaded to take down his reign and get him castrated out of being the reign and the ruler of the universe. And then he takes his power and then he has some kids. And one of those smallest kids that's protected is Zeus, Jupiter. Why do you think that Saturn hates Jupiter so much? Because Jupiter, Zeus, then becomes the leader, and there is not one temple that was ever made for Saturn, for Kronos. Not one. And with Saturn being here in Aquarius, Saturn's confronting Daddy's house. And he's not a good kid. He causes a lot of fucking problems in life because he's jealous. He's envious. That's why he tries to prove himself by putting up this whole facade that I am in control. And if you think that you have any control of the world and any control of people through you and your expression of your belief systems opposed to some factual information of your truth that God is telling you from a higher position, or are you falling for the trap of being Saturn and you're envious and you're jealous and you're living in the reign of that subconscious bullshit when Daddy's house is literally telling fucking Saturn, like, I hope you're going to be a good kid and you're not going to fucking try and take me away and go against me and betray your own father because you want your own power and control of the world, of time. Because what? Because you want to be cool like everybody else? And you want to prove to everybody you're cool right now? What? By going and doing, I'm joining bandwagons. This is the biggest bandwagon. This is the biggest sheep herd we've ever had. And I've been saying this for years, and I don't even feel bad saying it because you all know it. I've been saying it for years. You can go watch all the clips. I have them on my YouTube, and I have them segmented out. And I've been warning people for years about the biggest sheep herd of all time, that there are sheep that are being herded, and it's the collective. And this is because of the fact that people are trying to be like other people, and they're living in the belief systems that have been subconsciously by Neptune, with Mars coming through here, that you're going to have to either erase the hard drive of all the things that you learned and take the red pill in life and get rid of that blue pill on what you think is cool and what movies have told you to be like and what the media tells you to be like and all those things. Because if you don't, this is it. This is it. You will enter back into Saturn coming back into Capricorn, where he's going to betray his fucking father again. And you're going to betray yourself. You're going to betray the collective because you take the blue pill, because you're going to entrap the world. Because you don't have the courage to face your subconscious shit of your truth and your curiosity of what God is telling you is true. But you won't believe it because you're putting your beliefs first of other people's shit and worry and shaming if you don't become that. Because you're too afraid to face the fucking truth in yourself. I got it out. Mars and Neptune too. Remember, I do want to tell people that Poseidon was not a nice guy either. I mean, he's the protector of the oceans. But let me tell you this. There's one thing about Poseidon. He gets upset. He gets angry. And he gets the most angry when people don't listen to. You got to remember, Neptune is all the way out there. Aleister Crowley wrote Neptune as the outpost for the sun, the farthest outpost for the sun, the fortress of the sun. Actually, the outpost for the fortress of the sun. The only outpost, if we want to use a Game of Thrones reference, I know some people might not use it, and I'm not a Game of Thrones fan, I'm just going to be honest with you all, but I had to watch that shit. Like, it was my old last relationship. I got forced to. And you want to have we'll have some comedy here. It was like the promise of watching another show. If I watched that show, I watched that whole show. My ex-partner didn't even fucking watch the show that I asked to watch. I got fucking screwed into that thing. But I'm not going to get mad about it. But I'm going to let you all know that with Neptune being at the outpost, that outpost is the fortress, like in Game of Thrones, like where the wall is. And where that wall is, what? To see if the White Walkers are out there and to protect whatever it was called again. I don't remember. The whole fake world that is in a time period that everybody loves, but they don't even know which time period it is. Talk about Neptune shit. Game of Thrones is like, let's just like mix in like some parts of like Cro-Magnon times to 15th century to maybe even 11th century to maybe, who knows? You don't know the time period. But Neptune's that outpost that literally is like, hey, and you know what? Even Aleister Crowley writes in his old astrological writings from 1898 that Neptune is the only one that warns the sun of, hey, there's a comet coming. Hey, there's an asteroid on its way. That, you know, we get all lost into the technical versions of like how scientists think, like we have figured this out. We will figure out that there's an asteroid going to pass us and all that. It is so wide, the whole universe. To have eyes on it fully is impossible, okay? So you have to tap into intuition. If you ever watch any, I think that original movie Contact, or if you ever get into any of those old kind of movies when they talk about trying to understand like the universe or trying to find, it's when you get a gut feeling. It's when you just, you know what? I should go check right now and move the telescope in this area and see what happens. Oh my gosh, I found something. That is Neptune. That is our outpost. Are you listening to the outpost as right now as Mars, a warrior, is coming into your life and Poseidon gets mad and creates a storm in your life, especially with the square to the sun, especially with Venus retrograde, and it's going to be at the position where Venus went retrograde, stationary retrograde. You have to realize you're either coming into that you have not been listening to the outpost that's been trying to guide your life and follow the facts and don't suppress it if this doesn't do good for your environment. In your own environment, not getting lost into the whole world. Like if you're thinking that you're this great world changer on your own, or if you think that even right now that the collective is able to change the world while Saturn's retrograding backwards into Capricorn, you don't even know what we're up against fully yet. That's been the most unknown. That's what you need to realize through this whole entire thing, is the outpost has been trying to talk to everybody and go, hey, listen, there's deception happening on the planet right now. You all should just chill back and find it in your own environment, find your subconscious shit, get out of the positions and don't do the life that is not good for your environment, because when the real stuff hits, which we have not even seen the peak of this craziness in life. And I hate doing deep astrology like this, that I have to give my big warnings as an astrologer that this is not even close to the craziness that we have seen in the world. And this is the blue pill, red pill. This is you're either, and you know what? You can't even use the term woke, because this is deeper than that. This is whether or not that you trust the outpost of spirit and the subtle hints, the signs, and you're curious enough to seem like you're logical or crazy when really it actually is the more logical thing, and it always is. Because we have to realize that the definition of logic right now is actually following the universe's guidance, not our own subconscious beliefs that have been all hijacked for centuries. Centuries. Millenniums. They've been hijacked. The red pill is you unprogramming thousands of years. It's in your life every day. Oh, you think that because, what do you mean? Astrology. Okay, the hour is Horus, the sun god of Egypt. That's on the horizon, Horus's zone. Every day that you look at the hours, you are embedded in a system that you don't even know anything about. Let alone, do you think that you're embedded in a world right now that everything that comes through this boob tube and everything that you see on the internet and stuff and everything that you see is not pre-planned by some backdrop that you have no idea from, that is totally trying to have you be persuaded? Because the ultimate thing, and I have to say this before I go to the charts, Neptune is deception. It rules the media. It looks like an antenna. Go look at the glyph for Neptune. It's the media. Go look at the traditional rulers of Neptune. Of what does it rule? The media, movies, television, that have all been pre-programmed. History, the past, it rules the past. Are you sure that the past is even true, the way that you see the past? Have you done your facts yet? It was interesting. And I'll just bring up one little thing and that's it. And I know it'll trigger people, but I'm just going to say, a lot of people got weird when I threw up a post that was, Martin Luther King was a Republican, and a lot of people went crazy on me about it. But he was. That's the facts. He was going against the Democrats that were wanting to segregate. So, I'm not trying to get political and say that that's how I feel now or anything like that, because I'm in the middle and I'm just looking at facts from both sides of things. But when you go into your beliefs right now and you go into everything and you look into the past right now, do you understand it? Have you done your research? Do you know that every 20 years that the President of the United States always has the craziest, significant, weirdest, not normal situations? You think we're coming into an election year. Do you know how the history works? Do you know what really has happened? Do you know how all this stuff works? Do you know what happened in 1856 and why that was the invisible divide? Do you know why that was all caused? Maybe it'll be more fun to have you go figure it out. Instead of think that you already know. All right, let's take a look at the charts. If you're on High Vibe, you stay with me with the charts. But if you're on YouTube right now, we just go to audio and you can join and be part of High Vibe and watch the rest of this with me showing you the actual charts, and we pop them on the screen. So, all right, here we are, Tuesday. Actually, you know what's so funny? I'm so used to always doing Tuesday that, oh, that's Tuesday the 16th. Here we go, right here. Bang. We're on Wednesday, June 10th. And here it is, Sun, and that is squaring over to Neptune exactly. And as I'm actually talking right now, it's almost at its exact square point. So Wednesday night into Thursday morning, East Coast, West Coast of America, so that would be the next day following if you're in Australia. You got to always add a day if you're in Australia to our days, okay? You're that far ahead. That this is us confronting this subconscious truth and our subtle hints from the universe, and we're being guided somewhere. Mars is trying to push this guidance, or Mars is trying to persuade you to follow your subconscious crap. What are you going to let this warrior do that doesn't have as much power as Neptune? Neptune will persuade. So Neptune's always main thing is to persuade you to go to the truth of the deception instead of, if you don't take the truth, what do? You do drugs, you do alcohol, you do things to suppress the truth. And this is where Mars is pumping that and being like, well, if that's what you're doing, I'm going to just take that and just fuck you up harder. And Neptune's like, okay, yeah, they didn't listen, and I've got Mars with me. Let's go create a freaking storm in this person's life. And there's that moon, 26 degrees of Aquarius. And we had a nice window here to kind of calm things down here for a second before the storm. And to make sure that you're adjusted, that you understand the connections, that you understand the people, you understand where it's going. We got Mercury stopping here. It's only going to come another 2 degrees, not even, a degree and a half, basically. As 14 degrees is going to be where it retrogrades. So, and that is retrograding on the 17th. Like, hello, when I come to y'all next week, it's Mercury retrograde. And this is about emotions, and this is about, like, you need to scan your environment and scan your emotions and scan your home life and be like, where is the place that I need to be? Where is the real place I need to be? Because I don't want to be in the wrong place. There's storms coming. Massive subconscious ones. Massive sheep herding like we've never seen before. Massive. Nobody wants to talk about this Jupiter-Pluto that happens to always be connected with major financial crisis and ruin that we are seeing 3 times this year. The last one was in 2007, and we saw it once. This is 3 times, 3 hits in the sign of Capricorn that we have not seen in any of our lives, our grandparents' lives, our great-grandparents' lives, or anybody even close. We're talking about centuries upon centuries upon centuries upon centuries upon centuries since we saw Jupiter, Pluto, Capricorn. And remember, Pluto was found in 1930, so they didn't even know about it. The underlying hit that still hasn't really got to people's truth yet is the world financial economies and structure. Pluto rules the economy as money and investments and the backing of the banks. Jupiter is in its fall position in retrograde. This is bad luck coming to this world with this stuff. You need to really put yourself in the best places. I have been giving warnings that it's the end of June, that's it. I don't know what to tell everybody. That's like my extended late. You have till the end of June. And we're already at June 10th. Because at the end of June, Jupiter, Pluto are coming together, and they're almost together. Look at 2604 and 2430. That's a degree and a half away. And that's only going to be the second hit. There's another one in November. That'll be the third. And here's Saturn. That's pretty chilled out because at least Saturn's in Daddy's house where he has to be respectable and he has to actually realize that, you know what? That's why Saturn is the ruler of also Aquarius, but that's why we found Uranus, because he was castrated past the reality. And that's why, actually, in my book, in my opinion, Saturn is not ruled by Aquarius. I'm just going to say it. It's not, because of what happened in the mythology. It got castrated out, and fucking Saturn took the rulership, and then it got kicked out because of fucking Jupiter, and Zeus became god of that world. But even Jupiter doesn't even have Jupiter does have the understanding, it does have good relationships with the outer planets, but Poseidon and Hades and all this is past that, and it's Uranus who rules the universe, and it rules the collective, and it rules people, and it rules in modern astrology. It rules the understanding of the internet and all these things that are going on right now. And Saturn here is like, I got to be on good behavior here, but I'm trying to disrupt it because I'm really trying to fucking backstab my fucking father. And you think that right now in the world, the things we think that we're seeing, we're not being all backstabbed by some fucking force that's trying to fucking backstab the collective? Or do you think these are just random events that just so happen to be, fucking correlating at the same time? And that's where there's going to be this split in the collective. The people who really think that these are just random events that are just fucking happening, or they have done enough work and seen how the universe works and has been following this practice and art that including monarch, heads of state, till the beginnings of time, the first civilizations, the Babylonians, the beginning, have used this to understand what is going on in the world. And if you're going to be in complete denial of that, and just be like, I don't know what's next, right? Even though I said there's something about saying I don't know that's better. It's about knowing the time zones and the positions, because that's the only thing that Saturn really does give us. Let's be honest. That's really good, is understanding of time to know when shit's coming, because Saturn's the one that caused shit in the world. And Saturn betrayed the best place for us to always be. And why do you think Chiron sits in between Saturn and Uranus? And that's what humans are. The weird, we all have to just take this world in and deal with this, that we kind of understand the whole universe, and we understand this reality, but we don't know how to fucking put it all together, and we're a wounded species that doesn't understand why we're here. This shit's serious. Thursday, that moon moves into Pisces, and it is with a sextile to Uranus, but a square to Venus retrograde. Owie mama. So this is going to hurt if you are not following any of the truth that you're dealing with in relationships. There could be very positive ones. But anybody who's dealing with stuff that they have been trying to hide, that they have been trying to keep in the background, that they've been trying to realize that the God and Spirit and Neptune's been trying to say, hey, listen, here's the hint, here, get the hint, and you haven't got the hint yet, this builds up the storm. Because if you see this moon, 5 degrees, it's approaching to Mars and Neptune now, and look at that sun, exactly at the position at 21 degrees. This is where Venus went retrograde. And I'm telling you folks, this is a massive trigger point. Bam! Why? Where's Mercury going to be? It's stationing where the lunar eclipse is going to be. That's going to follow the solar eclipse that comes in July on the 5th or 4th, depending on how you are, but America's sun. And Mercury is going to retrograde on America's sun. And that affects the whole world, because any of you Europeans out there, or anybody in South America, or everybody in Africa, or anybody in Australia think that the media is run from America. And I know that you all have your media, but the whole idea of where things in life is going and how the turn something has hijacked in this country has been the one that does that projection, because you're watching on internet companies that actually provide the data that you are watching this through. Have you thought about that? It's all based in America. So we have Mercury going to be here. We have the sun going to be exactly where Venus retrograde. We have Venus going to be squaring the moon. That's not fun, because guess what? If you're feeling like especially Neptune Pisces is the ruler of, oh my God, I have the vision and I know, but I don't have it. Because what is Venus in Gemini? Oh, let me look at the facts and the reality of the factual data. I don't have it. It's not here. Especially Venus is physical. It's like, I don't physically have it in my reality and I can't see it. And there's the moon being like, I want it. So if you want a better position in your life and you keep dreaming about it and the hints have been there to do something and you haven't done it at this point, it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt when you realize that maybe you've been blocking a relationship situation that you want to be into or something because you're scared or whatever. It's going to hurt. Maybe you've been suppressing a relationship that's been so bad and so everything, and you know what? You know that you got to do something about it and you haven't, and now this pops off some crazy thing that Poseidon's going to do. Neptune and Mars and the moon that are going to go, and you're going to be like, shit, this is going to emotionally hurt. Sensitivities are heightened. Mental illnesses is heightened during this time at extremes of the people who don't deal with the subconscious issue. And you can't mask this with more alcohol. You can't mask this with more shit. You can't mask this with more drugs. You can't mask this with Neptunian stuff. You can't, because the mind will get worse. If you understand the data from psychologists and psychiatrists, the number one issue of every situation, whether it is something of a psychosis or if it is just some disorder of mental disorder or personality disorder or bipolar or anything, is drugs and alcohol. There's no coincidence with my alarm going off right there. For everybody to listen to that you can't in your life. You got to realize, you're like, I don't use drugs and alcohol. Oh, okay. Well, you know what? Going to yoga every morning and avoiding that relationship, or going to work every day to avoid that situation, or whatever it is, that's the same fucking thing. And it affects your mental state. And that's why this is going to get intense, because this is not normal. We talk about the new normal, but what about not normal everything? You got to question, the things that are not normal that are beautiful are because they feel like God is pushing you into this, it's magical. But if it's not magical and you didn't listen and you've been trying to avoid magic by throwing fluff over things that don't have magic, the zombies are going to come out. Friday's the craziest day, believe it or not. And then we're coming into a weekend that's insane because of this energy that will propel us into the weekend. So on Friday, it is the moon, it is Mars, it is Neptune, all on top of each other at 20 degrees. This is also the year of 1856 that this Neptune where it went retrograde and the craziness started to start. I haven't actually spent enough time to go in, and I'm not going to tonight, but maybe I'll do a live sometime this week to actually show you all 1856 and show you this is where Neptune had retrograded. We're about to have that retrograde when we're on the 22nd of June. And so here's Mars exactly on top of Neptune. That's already amplifying the storm or the anger of Poseidon of who's not listening. Here's Venus at 8 degrees as well, right? Venus in the last retrograde 8 years ago stopped right here, 8 and 7 degrees, okay? Like 8 degrees. This is where Venus stopped because it went retrograde at 24. In 2012. So we're about to see Venus retrograde even farther back than we've seen in centuries. Centuries. And with this happening at the same time, there's something to say that we are about to go into a world that we do not know. And it's either the magical heavenly world because you followed the hints from the universe, and it might sound crazy to people, or it might sound crazy and it goes against what the unwritten laws what are unwritten laws? They're unwritten beliefs. Like, I always use the example, like, okay, how long until your first kiss in a relationship? That's based upon what? Some unwritten book? Is there some unwritten book out there? Well, it's classy to be on the first date that it has to be this way or that way, or I don't know. Everybody has a different way that they got in relationships. If you were going to take the data, and if you were to run everybody in their relationships to the most successful one, I guarantee you that you're not going to find the most common way was because I did the old way and it was on the first date I did that and I did this. And I'm not saying that's wrong. I'm just saying that what spirit tells you in the moment is what it will always be to them. It'll be like, I don't know, this was a crazy situation. I did this, I did that. It just like felt good. And then I ended up in that. Bam! That's magic. Opposed to, oh, you know what, I got to, and you know what, too many people are doing that, I got to, or I can't because I should, and you've been subliminally, and this is hitting it extreme because we're about to see Venus dip backwards into places that we haven't seen for centuries. It retrogrades. I mean, it's simple to do the math. It's simple to do the math with Venus retrogrades. Why do you think that the Mayans in 2012 predicted all this change of the world that we have literally gone through? But the Mayans used Venus because it is the most predictable planet of the zodiac besides the star, which is the sun. Venus is so easy to predict. I can already tell you that 8 years from now, you and I are going to talk, and we are going to see Venus cross over this position within the week that we're talking right now, but even go farther back to about 2 degrees. I can just do that in my head without even looking right now because it's going to stop at 5. And believe it or not, 16 years from now, we're going to see Venus retrograde back into Taurus in its home side. That's not something that we've seen in a long fucking time. That's what I'm trying to tell you all. We are about to go backwards into a place that you and I and all of us that we've never felt, we've never seen, we've never retrograded Venus here ever for us. And here's the moon, Mars, and Neptune creating that big storm. And to be more proper, you know. So, and if you look at the Jupiter-Pluto energies, right? You know, they've been exactly squaring to Eris, which is a planet, 10th planet. And this is a darker, you know, shade of nature of the feminine extremities. Like it's also, but it gives you some really powerful courage and some very intense energies, but there's more to learn about it still. And here's Jupiter at 25 degrees as this is all going down Friday. So now, it's retrograded from 27 now to 25. Now Venus or Jupiter is starting to get its speed and retrograde backwards, and it's in its fall position, right? Then let's look at the exaltation. Let's look at the essential dignities. Saturn's at home, so it's at +10. Mercury's at +3. Mars is at +3, and Neptune would be at 10 because it's at its home. So Mars is very strong, and Mercury is very strong. And so this is where, you know, like I said, that Mercury is triggering major events in our life because that's where we're going to see the retrograde, and that's also where we're going to see the eclipse. The lunar eclipse that follows the solar eclipse. And I'm just trying to prepare people that the midpoint here, Uranus at 9, Saturn at 1, the midpoint of these two is right here, right where you're seeing. Right? Because with Saturn being here, that's 50 degrees up. With Uranus being here at 10, that's 50 degrees back. That's a midpoint, and it's all meeting. And this is dealing with Uranus and Saturn, who are connected, but they are against each other. Saturn betrays his own father. So there's the betrayal to yourself through you and you believing in subconscious bullshit and being programmed in a way where you won't listen to the craziness of the outpost that's telling you that winter's coming and that there's freaking weird beings out there that turn into ice. Like, it's almost like, I don't believe that. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, I'm going to believe what they tell me here in, what was that? In freaking, I know the place. Hold on a second. In King's Landing. So you're either in King's Landing, and what happened to King's Landing? She fucking killed that whole place with a dragon. And kept going. She didn't stop. That's Poseidon. And you didn't want to listen to what they were saying at the outpost? Ironically enough, this is going to be right around Trump's birthday. And this is what he's going to have to be dealing with. He should contact an astrologer if he wants to make it through just craziness. Because all this stuff is squaring his sun. He was born with a lunar eclipse here in the same cycle that we just had the lunar eclipse. Okay? Pretty gnarly stuff. And this is a storm to your value systems and whether or not you're ready to go have the best life by what seems crazy, and whether or not you're going to block the connection to the future or repress the future because of your subconscious issues. So this weekend, after the storm starts, it continues on because Mars will pass over Neptune and activate that anger, and the moon will be here at the edge, 29 Pisces on Saturday. So I'm just going to be honest with you all. This is a void off course moon, but it's kind of not in a way because of the fact that it's going to be squaring the nodes. So now you get the moon square the nodes, and the moon serves to the pleasure of the nodes. The nodes serve to the pleasure of the moon and the sun. And the sun's getting towards the north node. It's getting close. Rahu is the head of the dragon. This is the tale of the deserts and the illusions. And if you're going to just go think that you can just go have a weekend and just go lose yourself into some belief system and not something that was hinted by spirit to do, that's of truth, to change your reality, to make sure that it makes sense, instead of lose yourself in fucking some weird desert. That's the other thing, is this is trying to give too much power to Zeus-like energy of different people in different situations. This is not a time for Zeus. This is a time for Hermes, the smallest planet, believe it or not. That small issues are turning into Jupiterian Zeus-like energy. Like, I am Zeus and I am the king. I am the god of all the gods. No, it's not that time. It's time to make quick changes, logically, have conversations where you can handle both sides, where you can look at data, you can look at fact, you can look at people's beliefs, you can look at it, but put it all on the table and then go, like, what makes the most sense? What does also Spirit say? Spirit says to me that I need to hint and I need to go see what my stepdad's doing right now, even though I didn't believe I should go there. You know, it's like you can hear people's subconscious on their Instagram stories. Like, well, I went there because I have to. Like, it's my mom. I have to drive by there. I have to do that, or I have to do this, or I have to do that. It's so easy to hear people's subconscious shit right now. It's just like, oh, you're just doing that because you believe you want to prove to yourself that you're doing a good thing? When it doesn't even show you anything. Like, oh, I purposely, intently went to this place and I helped this random flower get off the weird thing. And then, you walk away and then the gardener comes and cuts it off and you're like, oh, wait, what? Like, you know what I mean? Like, Sunday, we got the moon in Aries and it's on top of Chiron. And we are now starting to see some very, very weird stuff because Neptune's stopping here. Mars now at 21 is squaring the exact point to where Venus went retrograde. And now Venus is at 7, which we have never seen at this degree and minute in our lives in retrograde. So this is bringing up the ultimate magic to what truly is or not. Because you fell for the spell of deception, or you truly understood the white rabbit that Neo had to go take. I always say it, the hesitation on Neo when they walk to the door and invite him to go to the party, in order for him to follow the white rabbit, which was a tattoo on the back of a girl, like literally that is the life we are living right now. And it's so creepy that it's so true. But you could see his hesitation, like, I shouldn't do that. Like, my mom taught me not to go walk with some stranger, or, those kids that listen to techno are bad people, and I believe that I shouldn't go walk that way. You follow the sign that the logic makes sense, because how much logic did he do on the computer to try and figure out the matrix? Enough to get the attention of spirit to bring that to there. And with this North Node here in Gemini, which is still going to be here all the way at 29 degrees through until July, we're talking this thing entered in on May 5th, and it has not moved off of 29. Edginess. And we're at a cliffhanger. Because what is Saturn at? 101. Coming to 0 degrees. But this storm is going to square that Venus retrograde stuff. So you're going to really see over the Thursday, the Friday, and the Saturday, by Sunday, like, you're either in the magical world of values, money, relationships, and so forth, or you are in the tank of it because you were herded in the sheep, you were herded in the belief systems, you were herded into being deceived, you were herded into all that kind of stuff. Monday comes, and now here's Saturn, 058. It's now at 0 degrees. It's now at the cusp. It's at the border of moving back into Capricorn. We got the sun at 25 degrees, so now it is, and I forgot to mention on the craziness of Sunday too, is in this whole weekend, this is not a normal weekend, folks. Not normal. This is not like I'm just going to go have fun and just whatever. The sun is going to quincunx over to Pluto. And that means extreme truth or radical, weird, like you are a puppet that you got put on a stage that you either didn't want to be on, or a puppet on a stage that you had wanted, like Pinocchio, to become the real boy or real girl that you ever wanted to be, or real whatever you wanted to be. That's going to be what it is, because that is a puppet on a string, quincunx. And now the sun at 25 on Monday is going to quincunx Jupiter, the conjunction point, and where we're having this stuff going down, but it's going to do Jupiter, which unfortunately it's in its fall position. So you're going to be like either feeling hopeless with the moon that's going to be in square to Jupiter-Pluto, that you didn't identify correctly, that you didn't see straight. And we're going to see that we never saw this Venus. Oh my gosh. What's even crazier about this too is here's, as the sun is doing, here's Mercury stopped. It's stopped on Monday, because look it's going to go retrograde, stationary, direct, it's going to stay there, but it's going to stay there for another 12. Look at that. It's only doing 10 minutes. It's not doing anything, not even doing a degree. It's so stopped. So this is major stoppage. Major stoppage. Even Uranus is only going 2 minutes a day. Even Mars. So Mars is fast, right? That's it. That's it. Look at this. Slow. Well, of course, it's something, but Mercury's pretty much dead stop. Venus retrograde. Mars is going fast, so you've got to use your identity here to take action and courage and strength to get through your subconscious shit and go into the magic, or literally you're falling into the biggest deceptions of your life and you are just going into fucking the nothingness. If we want to use another movie term, if I'm going to use movie terms of the never-ending story, the nothingness that is taking over the world right now is the best way to describe the world. Because people are falling for the nothingness. People are becoming the nothingness because they're not listening to the truth from the outposts of the universe. And Poseidon's going to be mad and create a bunch of storms and possible earthquakes, especially with the trigger point with Uranus and Neptune, even though they're not in semi-square anymore, because they're 50 degrees apart, they have a midpoint that is with Saturn at the weirdest spot. So we're seeing even more weird things. And the Saturn-Uranus square, even though it's breaking apart, that's still in square. And the midpoint is being hit extremely. Now the moon will make a good identification, good contact here with the sun, but it's like moon in Aries is like, I get what I want because I've gone through and I've seen the deception, and I'm not going to do the deception, and I have gone through it, and I'm identifying with the truth of who I am and what makes sense for the reality, and what makes sense that I'm curious to see that spirits put me in this direction, and I didn't pay attention to the outside world, or even the world that I'm attached to so much, of my own world, that I believe that I have to stay in this world the way it looks, and I have to live in this belief conditioning of how I should be and how I should live and how I should do things. Because that's why I said the end of June, and we're almost there. And the last day before I see you, when I'm back on Wednesday, but Tuesday, the day before, is June 16th. And boy, oh boy, we've never seen Venus at 6, retro. We got the moon in Taurus, so it's exalted at least, but we're heading towards an eclipse. We're heading towards a Mercury retrograde. Mercury's in a station. Look at that Mercury, only 6 minutes. And it's going to get slower and slower through the day. And it's such a weird point with this moon that's going to square Saturn. It's not going to feel good coming into that Tuesday. Because it's almost like, here's the moon trying to connect with Uranus to go to this big high place, to a better life. But it's like, did you block that? Did you block connection? Did you just come up with some crazy wild excuse of, you know what, no, I have to do this or I have to do that because other people are telling me or other things or the world's telling me and all that shit. And then you mix in that South Node in fucking Sag, that you're just conditioned into beliefs and stuff. And I'm telling you, this is where it feels hard because that's Uranus, the moon's with Uranus kind of feeling bad. Like, I'm sorry that you've been ousted and you're in Taurus heaven. You're literally in the fountain of youth, like the greatness, the beauty. And nobody wants to be here with you because they're subliminally wanting to be in the craziness and they're blocking going here because they're trying to be cool or they're trying to fit in or they're trying to stick into the conditioning or they got spelled into the spellboundness of nothingness. And with the sun being at 26 degrees here, it's just within now 3 degrees orb of the North Node, and this is where you're going to find out more truth in your whole entire life through this whole entire week, where you're either on the path of your truth and you're following the universal truth, or you are the farthest away with the sun starting to oppose Sag, South Node, where you are lost to where you are being pulled. And you know what? You're being pulled to an area that's where we came from, not where we're going. We're going towards the star Sirius. We're going towards the Pleiades. We're going towards where humanity's home truly is. And believe it or not, we are all being deceived on how that humanity should look like and not understanding our ancient past of our starseed truth. And this is the biggest warning I'm trying to give to the world right now, is to wake up to knowing the real shit and not getting lost into this whole entire web of false information, false truths, opinionated news cycles, opinionated this, opinionated that, and none of them, and you know what, they'll call this a pseudoscience until the day they die. They don't even have factual information that they even understand how this works. They use the whole excuse of, well, if you give a horoscope to somebody and it applies to everybody, that's the only scientific aspect that they have for it. So I'm just here to tell you that you will be in heaven or you will feel outcasted in a hell because you got betrayed by deception, by deceiving yourself for the fear to go where no man has gone before, no woman has gone before, no soul has gone before. It feels that way, of a better life, that all you had to do was listen to a subtle, intuitive hit that's been coming at you for months. And did you suppress it or did you do it? I love you all very much. Make sure that you check us out, highvibe.tv. Please share this video as much as you can. And of course, we always are on highvibe.tv in case this information ever doesn't make it on the normal wavelengths of places. Because that's how intense what's coming is coming, and that's how intense this message is. And this is nothing until that eclipse next week. Do you really want to feel that you were trapped? Or do you really want to feel like you broke free into your truth? I love you all very much. I'll see you on the next Deep Astrology.